Hello there, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Teresa McCloy, and you're listening into real life conversations for Christian coaches. I am thrilled to be here with you today. My co host, Erica Vincent, is actually out for this episode, and we are going to be diving into kind of a series that we're going to be doing. As we have switched the podcast over to real life conversations for Christian coaches, we've explored some different things over the past few weeks. We've looked at what is your coaching path. We've looked at tools that you might use in coaching. We've looked at your coaching presence. And so we want to continue to just draw out what is important to us as we build and maintain businesses as Christian coaches. We've talked in a few episodes back of whether you call it a business, whether you call it a practice, but you are building something either in the nonprofit side or in the for profit side that is creating a revenue for you and your family and for the lifestyle that you want. Whatever it is that you're building, we want to build it with a plan, with purpose. So, a few years back, I developed a framework to help some of the local business owners that I work with, and also some of the Christian coaches that we work with as we certify people in our content to say, what are some ways that you can build a business framework? And I call that the 7 P's of business. So, I did a series about this all last summer, really geared to business owners in general. But now that we've narrowed down the podcast to really be talking to Christian coaches, I want to take these 7 P's and explore them through the lens of a Christian coach who's building a business or a practice and how you would frame that out through these 7 P's. Eric will be back with us for the remainder of the series, but I'm going to introduce it today and just talk through these 7 P's through the lens of exactly what you're building. No matter whether that path is in life coaching, leadership coaching, spiritual formation coaching, these 7 P's can really speak into helping you have a great framework. We also will have a download that will be available for you that is specific to Christian coaches. So it'll have some more references in there to even some of the scriptures that we use and some different things that are laid out in more detail as we walk through this. So make sure that you download this free resource. You can find it at thereallifeprocess.com/7, SEVEN, thereallifeprocess.com/7, and you can get this free download so that you can use it as a framework as you build out your business. So let me introduce you to all 7. The first P is the word purpose. Having a purpose for your business. Why are you doing what you do? What is the mission, the vision, and the values that you have for your business? Connecting to that bigger why. As coaches, we're not just solving problems, we're walking with people towards actual transformation. I love the scripture passage in 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, whatever you do it for the glory of God. So, in this particular P, this very first one, we get into that mission, vision, and values that God has placed on your heart for the work that you do. We'll explore that one in depth actually next week on the podcast. The first P is purpose, reconnecting to your kingdom, calling, the why behind the work that you do. The second P in this 7 P's of business framework is the word plan. And this really gets into these rhythms and routines that you want to set your business up well with, because without a plan, we drift and we're no longer aligned with the original purpose. We actually teach that in our real life process life management rule of life framework is that balcony work that we need to do in our life and in our business. And then setting up quarterly projects, and we'll get into what tools are available. How can I do that? What would I use? And then if you have contractors and people on your team, one thing around plan is also having consistent time with those that contract with you or work with you. Now, you very much may be a solopreneur, and that is absolutely fine. But under this word of plan is these rhythms of meeting with your people on a regular basis. That might even be a coach. So we'll get into that more when we talk about the episode on planning. But it's without a plan, we drift. So first purpose, then a plan. And then the third one is defining your products or services. So you cannot have a business or even a ministry without clarity around what you offer. Why would it be that people would come to you for the help? You're offering this transformational journey, but they need to know what it is. So, what are your signature offers? Do you do groups, retreats, assessments? How do you speak to your clients around that? How do you put it out into the marketplace? Am I offering what God's asked me to offer? Am I stewarding that well? We'll get into that when we talk about the P of products and services and how will people know about this purpose that you have and this plan that you have? How will they know what you're offering? So that is the third P is products and services. The fourth one is a kind of a silly word, but it really takes on great meaning when we get into it, and it's called the particulars. This is the things that we're stewarding, the particular thing that we're stewarding. And God is in the details. That is how we sustain our business is knowing what to track, what to keep track of, not just our revenue and our expenses, but other things, how we are tracking the number of people that we might have in certain areas of our business that we're working with, like the number of clients, those types of things, bringing that order in the details. And for some coaches, that's really hard. These 7 things are part of the behind the scenes of having a coaching business or ministry. We wanna bring order and we wanna talk about bringing those details into an orderly fashion. It's not difficult once you get a plan set up around your particulars. So we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode. The 5th P after purpose, plan, products, particulars is processes. So, processes is something we hear a lot about. Create an onboarding process, an offboarding process, a way that you do certain things over and over again. Systems don't make us less spiritual, they make it sustainable. And if you look around creation, it is made up of systems, the body system, creation, how the world works. As I live here on a working grain farm and watch my husband, there are systems within the soil, within how things grow. So, processes or systems can make your business sustainable using repeatable things for onboarding and offboarding. We'll dive into all the details and we'll talk about where do you feel that friction instead of freedom in your processes. This is hard. This is hard to do the same thing over and over. I do it different every time. So, we're going to talk about what that can mean for you and how that can look different. The next P in this 7 Ps of business framework for coaches is actually people. How do we find the right people to serve? Where are they? How do we keep a relationship with them? There's actually 3 areas in the people department that we'll talk about. And that is your clients that you serve, the team that you might have if you have others that are contracting or working for you, either part time or full time, and then the third one is those vendors that you do business with, people that you build a relationship with where you buy products and services from them. And so we'll dive into all 3 of those, your ideal client, how you work with your team, and then how you bring others around you and community, maybe that you do business with or supporting you. So the people that you serve and work with matter deeply. All of these are lights that you shine in different places. And so we want to talk about the people and how that light can shine in this part of your business. And then the very last P in the 7 Ps of business is something that many of you might want to say, oh, I don't want to put that in there, but it's important. And that is problems. What problems come up, whether they're major problems where a project isn't working, a launch that you're trying to do isn't working, you're not connecting well with your clients. Sometimes they're logistical, sometimes they're spiritual, sometimes they're in our processes, but I want to be honest with you. We always have problems in our business. Some are big, some are small. That means your business is growing, your practice is building. And we want to continue to identify those. And then what do we do with them when we get there? So we'll have an episode all about that. I just want to invite you as you're hearing this to say, hey, I'm tuning in for the next 7 weeks so I can walk through each of these in detail. The 7 Ps of the business process for Christian coaches: purpose, plan, products, particulars, processes, people, and problems. This framework will set you up well or invite you into the growth that you need in your business by using this framework to check in with. It doesn't matter what your level is in business. You could be brand new, you could be 1 to 2 years in, you could have a business that's growing and thriving, but these are checkpoints for every single business. As I went through them today, you might say, wow, I want to dive into that one and that one. So make sure that you download the free download at the reallyprocess.com/7, SEVEN, and you can get this free resource absolutely free. So that's the first thing that I would tell you. We always want to give you a call to action. And that's the first one is download this little download. There's actually a way that you can use it as an assessment. You'll see underneath each one of the 7 Ps, the numbers 1 through 5. So the second action step that I would invite you to is to go through all 7 of these and just with a gut level response, just where do you feel like you're at? A 1 being, this is what I need to work on. And a 5 being, I've got this one set up pretty well. That will help you as we walk through this series to really lean in. It's going to be a fun summer as we dive in and set you up well for the business, the practice of coaching that you're building and that God has laid on your heart and that you continue to dive into. So I look forward to coming back with you starting next week. Eric will be back with me. We're going to dive into the very first P, and that is the P of purpose. Right now, we are launching our next certification cohort. It's actually starting July the 29th. So, here in just a couple of weeks, we're going to be kicking off that cohort for our full certification in the real life process. So, you can just go to the reallyprocess.com, click over in the right-hand corner to get certified, and you can find all about our coach certification. Whether you've been on a certification path through other programs, these are tools and resources that you can use in your tool belt as you coach with others and build out your business. We invite you to check that out as well. We'll be back next week with more conversation around these 7 Ps, our summer series. We're super excited about it as we come alongside you and support you and the work that God has for you. Just remember that every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for them. Eric and I will be back next week. Can't wait to see you then.